All right, magic makers, we are going to settle in because today winter's coming. All right, surprise, surprise. Winter is coming, and we all know I live in New England and me and winter we ain't BFF. So let's just say, let's just call it what it is. But I know that this year, instead of hibernating and complaining, I'm treating this as my personal glow up season, right? This is my winter arc. And remember last year, you heard all the people on the TikTok talking about their winter arc. And this is my year that I am going to build. Yeah, not bulk, not blow up, not hide underneath the covers, not a new year, new me kind of build, because we don't need to shrink ourselves, right? Especially in the wintertime, but we don't need to shrink ourselves ever. We grown ass women now. We build things, right? Muscle, strength, confidence, a metabolism that stops acting like a scared raccoon trying to cross a highway. So let's talk about why I'm doing this and what I learned over the last probably 18 months. And the questions you probably going to ask yourself before you hit another diet starts Monday moment or, oh my God, January 1st, this is the year moment. And, this one is this is a little personal for me because I've shared with you, I think, and I'll link them here in the show notes, but I'll share with you, like, I talked about my journey to maintenance, and it was a journey. Like, it was like an epic, like, when the explorers left Europe and was trying to find America journey. And, I've tried to take a few girls along this journey, and I've always said to you, it is a battle of your patience, right? This isn't a 12-week and I'm going to have a higher booty. This isn't a 12-week and I'm going to be ripped. That's not what this is all about, right? It was really about learning what my body can actually take. And it went slower than I wanted to take. There were plenty of times that I wanted to kick the goddamn wall, but I held steady, right? I figured out where I maxed out with my calories. And yeah, I put on a little weight, but I put on 7 pounds. Now, for many of you, like, oh yeah, 7 pounds. I put on 7 pounds because I needed to put on 7 pounds. I needed to put on 7 pounds in order for my body to feel safe, that it was okay to start my fat loss phase. And I reversed into this for about a year. And then this past spring, I went into a fat loss phase. And yeah, the scale finally started moving down. And over the last since April, has it been a straight, like, downward spiral? Absolutely not. But I had like a little bit of a Richter scale, and that's what you want, right? Because every week is, I know we read or hear, you should lose 1 to 2 pounds every single week. But most of you listening to me right now, y'all are like me. You have dieted to within 1 inch of your life, and your body is scared, right? It's like, I don't want that body beat down anymore. I don't want you to give me 3 almonds and a Diet Coke and call it a meal. So for me, just like many of you listening, you might have to spend about a year seeing the scale go up a little bit, right? And that's okay because it wasn't like I was eating, burgers and pizza, but I wasn't exactly, I was doing it in a very strategic way. And I had someone who was overseeing everything I was doing. And it was really helpful because I worked with her in more of a consulting kind of way, not like, here, do this or die, right? And I'm very hard-headed. I am a challenging client because I know a lot of shit. And so it was also habits, right? We all have habits that we fall into that it's really easy to just stick with our habits and not really want to like break out of our freaking habits because we like them. It's comfortable. I feel good doing these habits. So as I entered into this fat loss phase, so I started fat loss in about April, and I've been like slowly, inching down to over the last, I don't know, however many months that is, like 7+ months, I've dropped down like 8.5 pounds. And so that's great, right? Jumping up and down. But here's the thing, I wasn't happy with how I looked. The scale changed, fine. But my first instinct, of course, when I looked and I take pictures, like I take pictures, I take measurement, my first instinct was to diet harder, right? Push for a new goal weight, white knuckle my way there. But then I stopped and I asked myself, how many times am I going to go through this diet phase expecting my body to keep changing? So the truth is, I can't diet my way into a body composition change. Like, hear that again. I can't diet my way into a body composition change, and neither can you, right? The only way that that really works is if you're like a brandy new dieter, like you've never dieted, and your body is like, oh, this is lovely, right? The first time we all dieted, we had that magical response that your body was like, oh, yeah, let's go. And then we try to push it too far, right? We got greedy. We're like, how low can I go? And so here's where, like, I said to I said to my coach, I'm like, hey, like, yeah, the scale's great going down, fabulous, wonderful. However, I don't like the composition. So I need to build, right? And she was like, great. She goes, because if we do building the right way, the scale might go up again, just as it did when I was trying to find my way to maintenance. But I know when I go into a fat loss phase in 6 months from now, that it's going to reveal muscle that I've been working on underneath it, right? So I like to have, and I don't want to go back to what I looked like when I was competing. That's not what I'm going for at all. I just want to have the look that I work out, right? Because right now I feel like I look a little softer. I look undefined. I want to be like a smaller version, but in the same shape that I have right now. Do I want to have like bulging biceps? Do I want to have like, shoulders you can hang, my coat off? No, I'm not going to say no to that, but that's not the aesthetic I'm chasing, right? And I realized that I don't need to weigh less to have on more muscle, right? So instead of pushing myself harder into this deficit, I'm going to pull back and I'm going to do something smart. I'm going to go into a calorie surplus, not crazy, probably like 500 to 600 calories more than what I'm eating right now, with focusing on really upping my protein and upping my fiber and really focusing my training so that I can simultaneously build muscle, right? That's the theory, right? That's my theory, and it's also physiological, right? In order to build, I need to have the calories on board, right? So many of us want to build the muscle, but we don't want to put the calories on board. So many of us want to build muscle, but we're like, the scale, right? So it's like, I can't have my cake and eat it too. I've dieted too many rounds for that to happen. And so I'm being real, I'm being honest. And for many of us, we have to be real and honest with ourselves, right? I know that I don't need to get smaller. I want to get stronger. I want to have more muscle. I want to have a better body comp Betty be, ugh, a better body composition, a body that actually responds when I put the work in. And to do that, I got to fuel it, right? It's not going to do it by restriction. It's not going to do it on 1200 calories, right? That's just not how it is. So starting in January, like I'm giving myself the holidays. Am I going to be like, woo, it's the holidays, I'm losing my shit? No, I'm just giving myself the holidays because I don't want to, one, I'm traveling and I don't want to start going heads down right now. Like I am already kind of starting to like really be focused on my lifts and all that. But like come January, I'm going to be like, yes, from now through probably June, I'm going heads down. Right. And so what does that mean? So that means I'm lifting with intention. Getting obsessed with beating the prior month's lifts, being strategic with my cardio, 2 days a hit, no less than 8,000 steps a day. And I'm taking progress pics every 2 weeks and tracking my food so that I can actually see what's happening, not just on the scale days, right? Because I'm not going to see a build on the scale, right? I don't care what the scale says. I care how I look in jeans, and let's be honest, how I look naked. Right. So when I was doing fitness competitions and, you know, basically our last show of the year was right before Thanksgiving. And so typically, our coach would be like, we would have the week of Thanksgiving off. And then typically that weekend, we had to submit goals for the upcoming season. And for many people, it was about the build, right? Because typically, depending on how many times you competed, the first show was either April of that year or you would waiting until like the end of May or mid June. And so you would kind of put together your plan. And so we would call this gray sweatpants season, right? So think about like the old school gray sweatpants. They were just like not sexy. They were just like gray sweatpants and you put them on. And that meant you weren't messing around. You weren't trying to wear the cute Lulus. You weren't trying to like, be cute. You were like, this is my building season so that I can, the best way I could think about it is like, um, people are sculptors, right? The sculptor gets this like big blob of clay, this big blob of marble, and like they have a vision. They're like, I see whatever it is that they see that they're creating, and they are chipping away and chipping away and chiseling away, and then boom, they have this beautiful sculpture. That's exactly what we're doing in Gray Sweatpants season, right? Because I'm doing this because muscle is the like gold. It is gold of midlife. It is gold of old life. It is gold of all life because I want to stay strong, mobile, and independent and not feeling like a sad noodle by 4 p.m. Muscle is it. I don't want to be at the Palm Beach airport waiting for my freaking wheelchair. I don't want to have to pull on the seat to get myself up and out. I want to sit on a toilet and not have to need a handle to get up off that toilet. That's what I'm looking for. I want to be able to go on vacation and not be like, oh, we can't go on a hike because I'm not going to be able to keep up with everyone else. That's just not how I see my life going. So a build helps me lift heavier, eat more, yes, please, recover better, and 6 months from now, when I start back into either getting myself back to maintenance or going back into a fat loss phase, I'm going to look more sculpted and I'm not going to hate my life because I don't have to go, I'm not trying to go like hard or extreme, right? And so think of it as like this, right? I can't always make withdrawals. So think about your bank account. If I constantly just took money out, took money out, took money out. At some point, my bank would be like, hey, girl, we need a little money here, right? So at some point, I would have to make a deposit. And if we have been constantly dieting, since God knows when, it's like trying to drive to Florida with your gas light on and thinking, oh, girl, I'll be fine. Trust me, I've been that girl. I've taken it down to like 3 miles an hour, 3 miles on my like reserve. And yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, but why do we have to always have to like do the extreme, right? You can't always be in a deficit. And over the last couple of years, I have said this has been my mantra, right? We can't always be in a deficit. At some point, your body needs something to pull from. And I know this is the point where people like desperate dieters freak right the fuck out. And I don't want to freak you out. I want us to just realize that, like, you know what? Life is changing and I need to like evolve, right? It can't always be about how hard could I go? Because at some point, I don't know about you, can I go hard? Probably. Do I want to go hard? Hell to the no. No, no, no. I'm done with the hard. And if you're done with the hard, keep listening. But if you're like, hard is your BFF, I am not the girl for you, right? And so I learned last year for my body was stalled because I was hovering just below what it needed. So when I first started this whole maintenance project back in 2024, okay, 2024 I started this maintenance project. And basically, I was hovering just below the calories that I needed to just keep my what's called your basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate, fancy talk for this is the number of calories I need to keep myself alive. Just like if I was laying in a bed doing absolutely nothing and I was eating below that. Given that I was easily walking anywhere from 10,000 plus steps, I was working out anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, plus just living my life, right? So I was eating below that. And so it took me a while to like ratchet my calories up in order to get there. And I had to add my calories back in. I had to reverse to maintenance for a full year before fat loss could even happen. And yeah, did it go slower than I wanted? You bet your sweet bottom. But I finally got to the fat loss. I was finally were able to get to the fat loss phase. And that's usually when most people quit. And I can tell you like hand on a Bible, like I don't know why I kept going. I, you know, I talked about this in another podcast, but one of the reasons why I kept going was that I did this in a group and there's four of us, and the four of us have been together for almost 2 years. And there was another woman, and she was in the same boat as I was. Like everyone else was like losing, 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 and the two of us were like stalled. And it was just like just having someone else who was like feeling the same things. Now, if it was just me being stalled, I would probably like fuck this and I would have been out. But it was like I was like, all right, someone else is doing this. Someone else is stalled just like me. Okay, okay, okay. And I showed up every Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night I showed up, and it was boring. Every Wednesday night I would show up and it'd be like, nothing's really changed. Like I'm eating the same foods, I'm doing the same workouts, boring, boring, boring. And that I say this to stress upon you that so many of you, and even like for as long as I can remember when I was um as long as I was coaching, primarily when I was doing a lot of the competition girls, they wanted their diet to change every week. And it's not. If things are going well, we're not going to change your diet. And primarily, as a coach, I don't change your diet for about 6 weeks. I want to see like what is truly going on. Are you truly eating the same thing week to week to week? What does your sleep look like? What does your stress look like? Because if you aren't sleeping and you're stressing, I am not going to touch that food. We're going to work on that sleep and that stress, right? Unless you are like eating like a bird, then we'll talk about that. But for the most part, sleep and stress have so many downstream impacts that so many of us blow off. And I want you to just kind of like start to think about like, why is it that we kind of get caught in these cycles? So back from my tangent, I apologize. All right, so a build lets me fill the tank. Just as like when I was reversing back up, I had to like really pump up my calories to get myself into that maintenance place. So now I'm going back beyond what I did for maintenance because it helps me like top my tank off, right? It gets me to that full part of if this was a gas tank. It gets my hormones smiling again. It gives my metabolism a little like, hey girl, let's get to work. And we choose seasons and not punishments because my season right now is a build. I'm going to recharge my metabolism, I'm going to repair it, I'm going to strengthen it, and I'm going to prepare it so that we are not no longer part of the like punishment arc. We're no longer part of the desperation season. We're doing intentional cycles. We do results based on our reality, not on a fantasy. So let me tell you about my client Katie. So back when I was training girls for fitness competitions, there they never used the division that we competed in. They never had a pro division. And then the first year, then one year they decided, yep, we're gonna start giving pro cards. So that year the competition like came out of nowhere. Like the girls just came on stage and they were just beasts. They were just like boom, they were ripped. And my girl Katie, like she was very muscular, six pack abs, the whole bit. And she came in dead last because compared to the rest of the girls on stage, she looked like freaking olive oil. And so we're standing backstage, and I said to her, like, how do you feel? And she's like, I feel like shit. And I said, okay. And I said, are you willing to give me a year and you're willing to go heads down and let's get to fucking work? And she said, yeah. And I said, so that next year, exactly 12 months from now, we're standing on the stage, it's going to be a very different, that you're going to be a very different physique, and there's going to be something very different here. And I went really fucking bold and I said, you know what? And you're going to place. I just threw it out there. I was like, I'm throwing it out there. I'm going all chips in. And she's like, yep, let's go. And we went heads down. And that next November, she walked in, she put on a good 10 pounds of muscle. Like she was just one of these like genetically gifted people. Um, she went in, she went gray sweatpants. She was like, Kim, she's like, I'm eating till I'm stuffed. She's like, my pants, she's like, I'm up a dress size. And she's like, I'm, buying pants that have elastics. And I'm like, great. We lifted like we never lifted before, but she didn't panic. We didn't do shortcuts. We didn't say unrealistic, unrealistic expectations. We were not sprinting to some self-imposed deadline. We just went build. And that next November, when Katie stepped on stage, she placed top five. And I don't say this to like brag about like my skills. I say this because that was trust. It was just like, let's just let's grab hands together and let's just fucking go. And It wasn't because she dieted the hardest. It's because she built. We just freaking built. Like we built like nobody's business. And that's what a real off season is for. That's what gray sweatpants season is all about. Right? So, here's what I'm actually going to be doing for my winter arc. And I'm going to invite you guys to come along for the process, right? So we're doing 3 to 5 heavy lifting days a week. And I'm saying 3 to 5 days because I know the number one reason why most people are like, I can't work out because you try to go 7, you try to go 6. I know that if you look at your schedule right now, I know that some people, winter is their busy season, and that's okay. And that's okay. But I know that most people can find 3 days in their calendar, 3 days in their schedule, right? So if you got 3 days, you can build. If you got 5, I know it'll be even better. But this isn't about grinding yourself into dust. Like, I don't do that no more. It is about being consistent with progressive overload with different rep ranges. Each month, the program will progress more weight, more volume, or challenging variations of what we're doing, right? I don't do these, one of my mentors calls these like circus workouts. I don't do these circus workouts. I am the basics. I might throw like 2 exercises together and getting fancy, but I'm like, let's just get into the gym and let's just put in the freaking work, right? Your body only changes it when you challenge it. And here's where we're tracking our lifts versus just showing up and hoping, right? I'm writing everything down in my lift because I want proof I'm getting stronger, not just spinning my wheels in the gym. If I'm not increasing my weight or my reps every 4 to 6 weeks, something needs to adjust. And so most people go in and they like think like every week they should be adding their weight. No. Um, when I program workouts, so I give you a rep range. So I say, okay, this month our rep range is 8 to 10. And you decide, like some days you're lifting 8, some days you're lifting 10, some days you're lifting 9, right? Some days it's like 5 to 8. And some months it's 5 to 8, but I always give you a rep range. And I always give the instructions that are by the end of the month, if you're at the low range, let's just say 8. If you're at 8, are you adding more weight? Or instead of being at 8, or you at 10, right? So it's like I want to give you leverage of like uh what looks best for you. Um, and then, I'm doing a calorie bump. Nothing crazy, excuse me. Nothing reckless, just enough to support muscle growth. And like I mentioned, it's probably going to be about a 500 to 600 bump in my calories. But again, that all depends on the person, right? It just depends on the person. And protein, I'm doing at least 130 grams, and this is a non-negotiable because that's what that protein is, the building blocks of muscle. And I'm walking daily. All right. My goal right now is a minimum 8,000 steps every single day. And, you know, and this I know it's for me, it's what I need for mental clarity. All right. And I know that it's what I need to like. I saw because I was being consistent with keeping my steps at 8,000. I saw a lot of progress from that. And my sleep. I've been on a kick for several years, about 7 hours, like is my hard deck for sleep, being in bed for at least 8 hours, to kind of just help my body chill out. I've been doing breath work before I go to bed. So I'm just doing a lot of things to have, like to focus in on more on stress management, trying to do things that like don't stress me out, trying to get myself out of situations that cause me to be like a stress ball. And I know for everyone that is, easier said than done, but excuse me, you have to be intentional about it, right? You can't just be like, oh, I kind of want to. No, you have to be like, recognize the situations that stress you out and ask yourself, how do I, minimize or completely remove that situation? Um, Less cardio. Like I've been like a seesaw with cardio, and now I'm in my build. It's not going to be a cardio fest, but I'm going to be very intentional about getting at least 2 hit sessions in every single week, taking progress pics every 2 weeks, because, like I said, you're not going to see a build on the scale, not at all. But I am going to step on the scale at least once a week just to see if my weight, like if my weight skyrockets it up too much, then it's telling me that I'm having too many calories and that I need to pull it back just a little bit, right? So like my weight shouldn't go up like 2 to 3 pounds a week. Then that's a little bit too many calories that I'm taking in. And again, I'm doing this with support. Right? I'm not doing this on my own and trying to figure it out. Like, is this good? Is this bad? Like, as much as you say I know what to do, I always know that I need support because support is going to help me accelerate. A support is going to help me when I ask the hard questions, right? I'm like, all right, is this going to, am I like putting on too much weight? Is 2 pounds too much? Should I back it down? It should be a pound, right? So that I can go back and forth with someone on these questions. Um, but here's what I learned, right? The scale doesn't show muscle, right? It doesn't show strength. It just shows gravity's opinion, right? That's it. Gravity's opinion. And honestly, gravity don't know shit about how good you look in a dress or how good I feel in my body. So if the number on the scale is the only thing you're chasing, you're missing the whole point. And I've had clients who just like they get so vapor locked on it. And I want you to just realize it is just one piece of data, right? It's just one piece of data. That's why I always give you other points, other things to get your mind off that flipping scale, like pictures, uh, measurements like around your boobs, your stomach, thighs, arms, neck, that. Because like you look at yourself every day. So if I look at myself and I'll be like, I think I shaved off an inch off my bicep, I'm not gonna notice that. But if I like put the tape measure around my bicep, I'm like, oh yeah. And if I keep track of it, I'm like, oh, look at this. It's going down so much better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm excited about that. Um, but I just need us to like if you choose to come along on this journey with me, the scale is not your BFF, right? Your scale is that person who like tags along on, with your friend group. And so if the number on the scale is the only thing you're chasing, you're missing the whole point of this whole conversation. Right? That's the point of this whole conversation. And why winter works for me, and I've done several podcasts talking about different seasons and like what different seasons mean. And for me, it happens to be seasonally winter here in New England, and winter is the season where you go heads down into a build. But I know that I have clients who right now winter isn't for them. They're hockey moms. They are accountants, and so it just doesn't work for them. But you decide what is going to work for you. Like you need at least 3 days to commit to this, and it's about a 45 minutes in the gym. You can also do this at home with dumbbells, right? That's really what it is. But for me, winter works because, as I plan my year, like I plan my year for my business and I plan the year for my nutrition, just like I did when I was a competitor. Like I think that's where it comes from. And I know for me that I don't have any travel plans for until about June is when I have a travel plan. And from now until June, I am pretty much going to be here and I can go heads down. And maybe and like even if like a week or two you're traveling, that's okay, right? But if you know that, like I mentioned, the hockey moms where you're like, oh, I'm spending a week at the jamboree, and then we got to go here, then we got to go there. This might not be a time for you to do that. But it's also time for you to kind of look at your year and be like, when would be a good time to try this? When would be a time that like uh to try something different than what I'm doing right now so that we're not constantly always trying to shrink, 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 shrink. Because I'll tell you, when you first start working with me, I don't give you a diet. I see where you are. I see when I ask you when the last time you've added food. And we usually start with you working on adding food versus always trying to like take food take food away. So I have the most time in the wintertime. It works for me. I'm not traveling. I can commit to lifting. I can commit to dialing my nutrition. Plus, I live in New England. So hiding in sweatpants for 4 months is basically a lifestyle. I can hide under my parka. But even if you don't, even if you're not in sweatpants weather, the principle's still the same. You find your off season and you use it to your advantage. So I want you to, run through these questions, um, like a little quiz, right? A little takeaway. So, have you been dieting for more than 8 weeks straight? Like, can you remember the last time you intentionally added food to your nutrition that wasn't because you went out and you lost your ever-loving mind at a party, or girls' night or something like that. I'm talking like you intentionally said, diet is over. I'm adding something else to my nutrition. Because if you have not done that, your body's tired, babe. It's just tired. Are you actually strong right now, or are you just doing enough? Like, do you feel like really freaking strong? Or do you go to the gym and you just pick up the same dumbbells or put the pin at the same place on if you're using like a plate loading machine? And when was the last time you increased your calories without the like sheer panic? Like, holy shit, what did I do? And do you want so the best way to describe this, beach ball, baseball, right? Do you want to be more of a beach ball physique or a baseball physique? Because those require different seasons. And are you ready to stop reacting and actually have a plan for your health versus just kind of like, oh my God, it's February 1st and we're going on vacation on the 15th. Oh my God, it's June 1st and we're going on vacation July 1st. Or would you rather be able to like look right now and be like, oh, February, we're going on vacation. Oh, June, this is happening. Oh, November, this is happening. Do you want January or any point in your life to feel like misery or momentum? And what do you really want to feel like by March? Smaller or stronger? And these questions separate the women who are ready for the build season versus beating the new year, new me fad, right? Because building, it's not about being reckless, it's about being intentional. It's about owning your timelines instead of renting space from diet culture. It's about making decisions because they support your life, not because your genes were like, hey, girl, a little bit too much last night. My winter arc is all about building strength, reclaiming my energy, building the next version of me that rolls into spring, not leaner, not ripped, but powerful and not panicked. I'm done with the panic. I'm done with the 500 thoughts in my head about what I coulda, shoulda, right? And I want you thinking maybe it's my season to build too, right? And magic makers, if this episode is hitting you in the like, okay, maybe I do need to do a build too, then let's do this together. I'm running a Strong by Spring. It is my 12-week strength training program starting on January 12th. It's designed exactly for this, to help you build muscle, strength, and momentum through the winter so you roll into spring feeling powerful and not panicked. No deadlines, no pressure, just pure building. And if you are tired of starting over every single January and you are ready to build something that lasts, in the show notes, you will find the link, and it's only $147. This is gray sweatpants season, baby. Heads down, weights up, no bikini deadlines, just a build, build, build. This winter, we are not shrinking, we are rising. So, if you're ready to get locked and loaded, I got you. So do me a favor, if this sounds like everything that you were looking for, head over to Strong by Spring in my show notes and let's do this thing. All right, Magic Makers, I will talk to you next week. Enjoy the rest of your day.